it's a tremendous, the digital world is a tremendous opportunity for countries such as the countries in Latin America and, developing countries or the global south or whatever you want to use as a label. First, what I think is really encouraging is the level of entrepreneurship and innovation that is happening around the world. So I learned, for instance, today about entrepreneurs in Chile and young people and young companies developing the next generation of ed tech tools, right? And that kind of innovation driven and enabled by digital technologies, that's to me something that can happen everywhere almost. Another example would be if you look at maker spaces in China, right? That there are so many exciting possibilities for motivated people for entrepreneurship that require relatively low investments, right? Where digital is just extremely promising. A second opportunity I see is around content production. As we all know, the internet is still heavily dominated by English language content, or is kind of, if you look, for instance, user-created content, be it music or whatever the actual content is, right? There is still a strong European US dominance, and the localization and regionalization of content is just kind of another tremendous opportunity with lots of local knowledge, with lots of regional traditions and cultures, and to bring that online integrate that into the larger ecosystem. That's a second opportunity that I see that countries across Latin America have. And perhaps the third one and the final one that comes to mind is really about community building and kind of innovation in terms of working together with like-minded people, with coming together in lab environments, do experimentation, solving concrete problems, and have this sort of peer-driven, interest, problem-driven interventions and innovations, which is a bit variation on the first theme. I do think, although I'm not a technology determinist, but I do believe digital technology will be a very important facilitator for social change in almost all areas. And perhaps the two main reasons for that argument is so much that has to do with social change, whether you look at it in terms of social justice, or if you look at it as an environmental movement or a new ecology, or whether you look at it as issues around health and well-being, whatever the policy or the movement is, right? The area is. It's really based on information, access to information and creation of information and sharing of information. And so the technology that we're talking about, I think, is really opening up new possibilities in a way that we still just starting to learn to anticipate. Think about the open data movement. Think about access to knowledge, the kind of new connected way in which we learn about issues and collaborate with each other. So this kind of ecology of information, that to me seems to be at the core of change that will happen down the road, right? And that is what the technology facilitates and enables. So that's kind of the relationship I would like to propose, that ultimately much of social change boils down to information, which is extremely powerful. And here we have a technology that makes information accessible, that creates all sorts of new opportunities for information aggregation and for innovation using available. Focusing on privacy is a bit tough because it's such a complex and messy situation. But what I would say is to think more carefully about agency and responsibility, that we as users, we as a community of teachers or educators, or we as a community of technology developers have. That question of agency and responsibility, that to me is a discussion I would like to see, that I think would be more productive than exclusive discussion focused on what kind of laws do we need to have, or do we need more enforcement and higher fines for privacy violations or things like that. So more emphasis on creative thinking and what's our shared responsibility, and how can we work together to address some of these really hard questions that we're facing in the privacy space. That would be my hope, which requires some sort of a cultural shift, I believe, and also an acknowledgement that there are no silver bullet solutions to begin with, and we really need to work together to figure it out. So that would be kind of my hope for the next couple of years, with respect to privacy at least. Yeah. Learn foreign languages. I think that's the main advice, and something I personally regret, that I haven't learned many more languages that are so useful and really eye-opening, because it allows you to interact and discover the world through different eyes if you have this medium available at your disposal.